So, did anybody see this coming? A major TF2 update in March? In the year 2018? I wasn't expecting anything until, like, June. And this update, this update is really good. And not just because this came in the first half of the year, but this would be a really solid update anytime. I'm impressed. We got updated competitive mode, updated regular matchmaking, balancing, hats, and, like, a million fixes. Just scrolling down through those patch notes, I was just like, when is this gonna end? I don't even know where to begin. All of the maps that were previously missing from matchmaking are now there, besides Arena. And you can now queue for a match while you're actually in one, which is great. So if you want to play a map like Hydro, which people don't play that often, you could just go find a game in like Badwater and just wait until a Hydro server actually pops up. Competitive has also been overhauled with a more Counter-Strike-esque system. I haven't gotten a chance to actually test this out yet. And even Casual has a behind-the-scenes skill rating system to try to balance matches better. Auto-balance in Casual will now actually force people to switch if nobody does, and it's good stuff. And the weapon balancing! There's actually weapon balancing in the first half of the year. They fixed being able to flail around with your flamethrower and have it deal full damage, and it was done in a fairly reasonable amount of time. I guess Jungle Inferno wasn't that long ago. We're talking about Valve here. I honestly expected it to be that way for a pretty long time. So now the flamethrower actually does require some aim, and your fire damage will now increase based on the density of flames encountered. I'm assuming this means it's based on how long the fire is actually hitting them, but the initial damage will be reduced by half and then increase up to 200% based on the density. So I guess small puffs of fire won't really be doing much damage. And I've noticed that the fire damage seems pretty low at this point, and I've seen some people say that it's actually stuck at the 50% and isn't ramping up. As of the time I'm recording this, I haven't actually tested it too much. But if you hate Pyro and want to play before they fix it, you gotta do it now. They've also reduced the projectile hitbox size of the Dragon's Fury, which is simple enough. It's that the projectile I had before was pretty massive, and I haven't actually tested this one out either, but it seems like a pretty simple change. Sadly, and kind of surprisingly, they don't seem to have buffed the Gas Passer. They nerfed it for man versus machine, and I'm completely fine with that because it was kind of dumb how powerful it was before. But no buffs for the regular mode is kind of disappointing. The Thermal Thruster's holster time was decreased from 1.1 seconds to just 0.8. So that's going from 120% slower holster to just like 60% slower. It feels a lot better to use now. I like it. The Extinguisher was almost completely redone. Again, this time for the better. It will now mini-crit burning enemies and extinguish them, but it now also deals extra damage based on the duration of afterburn. And you will now also gain a speed boost when you kill a burning enemy with it. I'm not really sure why, but I'm okay with it. The base damage of the Extinguisher is still 33% lower than stock, and now instead of deploying 75% slower, it now holsters 35% slower. It's a good change, though it can be a bit hard to determine exactly how much damage you're doing since it's more so based on afterburn instead of a crit or mini-crit gimmick. Since the mini-crit itself won't even bring it up to stock damage, it's mostly going to be based on afterburn. The Sydney Sleeper got a few changes. Fully charged shots and headshots will no longer create a Girardi explosion, and the max duration of Girardi applied by the Sleeper was reduced from 8 seconds to 5. So those are the downsides, but you also always mini-crit on headshot, and headshots will now reduce the recharge time of your Girardi, like the secondary weapon, by 1 second. The whole Girardi thing is a little bit strange, but the mini-crits on headshot is actually sort of surprisingly useful. I was thinking, well, if you're applying Girardi anyway, you might as well just mini-crit them with the second shot. But this now means that a fully charged Sydney Sleeper headshot will do over 200 damage. The Sleeper can now one-shot every class except for Heavy with just its first shot. It does require getting a headshot, but yeah. Though I do find it a bit strange that the description still says no headshots instead of something like headshots don't crit, but meh. The Short Circuit has also undergone a big change. Instead of the alt fire shooting a little electric shock, it now fires a giant ball of energy. The energy ball will cost 65 metal and destroy all the projectiles it touches, and it also does a little bit of damage. So since it now has a longer range, I could see this being more potentially helpful for your teammates, but the metal cost is going to make it less actually useful for defending your own buildings, since you could only fire 3 of them from full metal. I think this will take a little bit of time to figure out how actually good it is, but it does seem promising enough. I'm not really sure why its primary fire still exists though. It doesn't destroy projectiles, it has like no range, and it does a whopping 10 hull damage per hit. You could either increase that damage or just remove it. It's kinda useless. The Pretty Boy's pocket pistol was nerfed. Well, that was pretty fast. The pocket pistol, Short Circuit, and Sydney Sleeper were all banned in 6s, so that's probably why we're seeing them being changed in a competitive themed update. So they reduced the pocket pistol's max health gain per hit from 7 all the way down to just 3. A biggish nerf, but here's the thing, it's still not bad because it's got basically a nothing downside. It's just a slightly smaller clip. It still has a faster damage output and it gives you a little bit of health. Honestly, I do find the post-Jungle Inferno pocket pistol to be kind of boring in general, but again, I don't really think this version is going to be bad. The panic attack has had its damage penalty decreased and its maximum shot spread has been reduced. The panic attack's previous damage penalty basically made its extra pellets worthless. Even if you landed all of them, that would just deal 94 damage, and compared to the shotgun's max of 90, it's not really worth it. Now the damage penalty has been reduced from 30% to 20%, making his max 108 damage, and that's pretty good. The atomizer just had a little fix. Previously, you could activate your third jump while actually switching to the atomizer. It didn't need to be completely deployed, making the deploy penalty more or less non-functional. And now it actually does need to be fully deployed. The Fist of Steel health penalty that they added in Jungle Inferno didn't work, and now it does. The Cowmangler's afterburn duration was reduced from 10 seconds to its intended 6 seconds, and the Enforcer Pierce gimmick will now actually pierce. And then there's just a whole bunch of other fixes, and some hats. Actually, a pretty nice group of them. I don't really follow hats as much as I used to, but it's a good looking bunch. Nothing dumb. I don't really know what to say, but other than that, I really like this update. I was working on a different video, actually 2 of them, and those will be done soon, but I felt like I should talk about this update. It's good, and hopefully they do more balance changes and more bug fixes like this more frequently. I had 0 expectations of having a major update in spring, and this one was, it was good. I think I've said that like 12 times already, but yeah, it's a good update. And maybe the best thing about this update is that one scout bug.
I have to go now. My planet needs me.
Scout is dead!